Health Nuts, episode 36.
You're listening to Health Nuts with Dr. Chris Carr. Making lifestyle changes is hard for many people, and not knowing what to do or how to do it makes the task all the more daunting. Here at Health Nuts, we focus on helping you live a fuller life by discussing everyday health issues and exploring breakthrough solutions on how to overcome them. And now, here's your host, Dr. Chris Carr.
Welcome back to another episode of Health Nuts. I'm your host, Dr. Chris Carr, and today I have on a special guest, and that is Mandi Babkes. She's a board-certified holistic health and nutrition counselor, quantum reflex analysis practitioner, emotional repolarization technique practitioner, energy and intuitive healer, as well as the proprietor of Holistic Health with Mandi. She is a local to Pittsburgh, PA, out of Lawrenceville. So for all you locals, we'll give you her contact info at the end of the podcast. And we have some good information we're going to go over with you today. Mandi, a somewhat formal intro of you. Welcome to the podcast, first and foremost. I'm really looking forward to hearing your message.
Great. I'm grateful to be here. Thanks so much for having me. So you want me to tell you a little bit about myself? Okay, great.
I would love to. Yeah, I'd love to hear a little more about yourself so the audience knows what you do and more specifically how you got there.
Sure. Okay. So I've been in practice for about 15 years, a little over 15 years. My starts were really were a major focus of physical and nutritional work with healing. But over the years, I've evolved into so many facets. So I really take a holistic approach in my practice: physical, emotional, nutritional, herbal. I've also been a big advocate for cannabis and for educating on the endocannabinoid system. This is a system that was discovered just not many years ago, but it was discovered in Israel and has come to the awareness of American medicine, and physicians today in America wonder why they haven't learned about this system. But it's a really profound system in our body that correlates with the CB1 and CB2 cell receptors, which make up our entire body and all of our cells. So I focus on, again, the physical, the emotional, the nutritional. Each and every person is different. So I don't look at us as cookie cutter figures. I look at everybody as an individual. And I think that, that's something that is really important to know, because we can't compare ourselves to, any case studies or, anything that, any ideas that anybody puts out there to us. We really have to take an approach to take care of ourselves overall individually. So how did I get here? I have a history of my own journey of physical and emotional illnesses and traumas. I like to call them my past life, but I do embrace them because they brought me here today to do the work that I do. I am an intuitive and I'm an empath, so I can really feel what other people feel. And it's a great gift for me to be able to give people hope and to give them the opportunity to know that they do have the power to heal. So, so that's sort of, in a nutshell, who I am and what I do. So
I love what you just shared, how you said that people have the intuitive power to heal. And that's one of the things, when I'm working with patients, and I'll ask them, I say, do you feel that your body can heal 1%? And they always all say yes. I say the only difference between that 1% and the other 99 is you taking action, you putting your mind to doing the work. Because your body's meant to heal. It's not meant to be sick. And when we understand that underlying principle, we all know that we can get better. We can do one step better each and every day. Then most of the time, your body can get better if you put in the work.
Right.
I'm looking forward to today because it's a topic I've had a ton of different topics on this podcast. Pain related, and we're going to talk a little bit about pain management today. But in regard to the treatment of pain management and doing it naturally, with the different ways that we can go about doing it, and with the CBD oil that is out there, as well as how to use it, is it safe, all the stigmas that are around it, and really putting those to rest. And we're looking forward to hearing your expertise on this. So today, for the audience, we're talking about pain management and how you can heal yourself. So with that being said, the CBD or the pain management, I know you'd said from the pain that comes from physical, emotional, or chemical problems. Can you go into more description about that?
Sure. So, there's different levels of pain. I can give you some examples, some testimonials, some people that I work with, but, I really believe that when we experience pain, and I think everybody does experience some point of pain, there is a correlation not just to the physical pain, but there's a really large component of emotional trauma, some that we're aware of, some that lies really deep in our layers of our subconscious that, could have happened when we were 3, when we were 1, when we were 10, and we tend to not really like to remember traumatic memories, so we push them down. And so it's, first and foremost, really important to feel comfortable with somebody that you're working with and have trust in them so that they can help you, or I can help them, pull out and heal those traumas, those layers that, again, they may be aware of, they may not. Being in pain is traumatic in itself. And so, when somebody is on pain management, it's a way of sedating the pain, but it also interacts with the physical composition of the body. So, if we think about a drug at all, a pharmaceutical drug, a street drug, anything, it first and foremost always impacts the liver, and the liver holds a lot of anger, aggression, and fear on an emotional level. So, if we're trying to sedate a fear or a pain, if they're linked, and then we're on pain management and we're sedating those very systems that work to allow us to experience and handle fight or flight in our parasympathetic nervous system, well then we're gonna continuously need and desire that pain medicine or that pain management, and it does become a physical need. And I really don't think that most people embrace and enjoy having that physical dependence on a drug, but it's scary again then to come off of that drug, so it's this vicious cycle. So, recently in the last few years, but I've been working a lot with, I've always been an advocate of hemp and, herbs in general. What works for one person doesn't work for everybody else. Doses are very important. I don't believe that a recommended dose even exists, and I don't believe that the goal is to have somebody be on something for the rest of their lives. But I can say that I do work with and educate on CBD, cannabidiol oil, which there's different why I have chosen the oils that I work with. They're a pharmacist formulated, completely THC free, which is one of the fears that people experience, or because they don't want to be high, or people haven't ever been high, and you don't have to be high in order to get the medical benefits of, or the medicinal properties of cannabidiol. And so CBD is just that. It's cannabidiol oil. We have an endocannabinoid system in our body. Sorry if I'm going all over, if I am just, so each and every cell receptor of our body is impacted by this cannabidiol oil. And what I was saying is, I work with various different herbs and treatments, physical, emotional, and there's never been one thing that can work for everybody in my practice, or it might work for a time period, but then we shift it out because I don't really want you to be on something for the rest of your life. There's a few things like minerals and vitamin D3, there's basics, but with the CBD, I can tell you that I have not seen one person from the age of 4 all the way up to, if you could reach 400, not benefit from it. So, there's different formulas out there. There's different lines. I think that that's something to take into consideration always. I have never, ever used or worked with anything that I don't trust and that isn't pure. 99.9% of the supplements out on the market today are not real. They're bound, they're processed, they're highly heated. Our body doesn't know what to do with them. The milligrams they say they have aren't, and so you don't really feel effects from them. So I'm the same way with anything I use with myself or my patients. And so I work with a CBD oil that is the only pharmacist formulated. It's a compounded formula. I do development and educational work for them, and they're in Miami, in Florida. And it is pure CBD oil, cannabidiol oil. So I find that it has I know it has impacted so many people's lives, including mine. And it can help and work with, everybody. So it's one, and I use it, I guess I should say, I use it a lot with pain management, but I also, to help wean people off of pain management, because you can't just come off of pain management, and, being involved with the movement of the opioid epidemic, and also working with pain management doctors who have been very honest with me and said, we weren't educated on how to bring somebody off of pain management. So the CBD has been a really incredible, powerful, herb that has allowed me to help other people, in addition to many other healing, formulas of healing, physical, emotional, herbal. So
a couple myths that are out there, I guess, for the layperson, one being the THC component. So THC is the component that would make somebody high.
Right, exactly. And that's another thing, right. There's medicinal properties to THC. However, the CBD is really, it's really the medicinal component of the plant, of the hemp plant. And the CBD, when something is hybrid, it levels out the high of the THC. So what the CBD does, let's talk about THC. I don't blame people for not wanting to be high all the time. The whole idea is to feel well and to feel grounded and to feel stable, and not to feel like you're floating, like you're on pain management or anything. We like to be in control and in power of what we're doing and what we're feeling. So, I don't necessarily feel like we need to have the THC. Do I think that it can benefit? Sure. But I feel like, when we have a hybrid blend too, that's, a CBD and a THC, the CBD brings the high down. So why not just use the CBD? It's completely legal. But I will say that there's several formulas out there, because it's becoming a big market, just like
huge,
just like, protein drinks and this and that. I was just at a huge medical cannabis conference, and I spoke and exhibited, and I had a 60-year-old woman come up to my booth, and there were attorneys next to me, and she said, I just bought a CBD online, and I had a drug test, a random drug test, and I got 60-year-old woman, I got fired from my job. So, well, why did she get fired, or why can't she fight it? Because of the medical marijuana movement. Well, that's a whole other layer, because, medical marijuana is federally not legal, statewide. That's where the choices come into play. So, unless you have a card, you can still be considered a criminal, or you can still be penalized. And the other idea is that she just was buying this random oil that she had no idea what it was. Maybe it was a little cheaper. Maybe she just didn't know. But, it wasn't really what she was hoping for. They're not all THC free. They will show up on a drug test if they're not regulated, if the CBD or if the hemp is coming from China, or, wherever it's coming from. If we don't know the root and the source of where something's coming from, somebody wouldn't want to take a random pharmaceutical that, so you want to know where the CBD is coming from.
And most people are going to want that, just from my own personal experience and patients that I know that are doing it. Most people are going to not want anything to do with that component in there. So with that being taken out, how does it work with removing pain? So somebody who has maybe a physical pain, like a chronic lower back pain, or somebody who has an emotional issue, whether it's a Parkinson's or a dementia-based issue, or a chemical intolerance like a allergy, asthma, or an acid reflux-based issue. How is that supplement, non-drug, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah,
how does it going to work?
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about the endocannabinoid system. And the way I like to explain it is, I work a lot with, our energy field, and we have a parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. We all have one. So sympathetic is the pain one feels. So if I was in front of you, I would, tap your hand or tap your leg, and you would be able to feel that. Parasympathetic is what's happening deep inside your tissues, in your body, in your layers that you're not aware of. Parasympathetic is the root of, oh my gosh, now I just was diagnosed with cancer or arthritis or this or that. because we don't know it's happening until the symptoms arise. So the endocannabinoid system works with both the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems. So it helps with inflammatory response. It turns on, and I use that term, it turns on and ignites the power in each and every organ gland system, because each and every organ gland system is made up of cells, and cells are the building blocks of our body, and they're, our tissues, and that's what we're working with, our receptors, our cell receptors. So something that I really love to share about CBD is it turns on the liver and the kidneys, and those are, our main engines in our body, and they control everything. So the kidneys control lymph, blood, circulation, your neurological, system. So ALS, anything of that nature. Same with the liver, it's blood cells, and it controls hormones, so brain hormones, or reproductive hormones, or adrenal hormones. So when we can actually get to the engines and satiate and nourish with an herb, then we can we can really just branch out and hit all cell receptors. So that means nerve receptors, pain receptors, the lymph system, inflammatory response. So that's what it does, in an oral administration with an oil or a capsule, it reaches and gets into the cellular system. And again, it's really important to know where the formulas come from, because when it's a pharmacist formulated, compounded formula, it mimics the body and the cellular structure identically, when we use it topically, it's a compounded cream, and it works dermally. So it's not just a pain cream, but it actually gets into the largest organ of the body, the skin. And it can, permeate and heal, not just take care of pain like a tiger balm or something like that, but it can actually heal the inflammatory responses and the cells, and the nerve receptors in that area. So hopefully that answered. If we take it, the dosing of it, it really depends. You can start at a low dose and you can work your way up. A side effect, there's really no side effects other than the fact that you might be a little more tired or you might be a little more energized. And that's how you can kind of gauge with it. It doesn't interfere when it's a really pure formula with a medication. If anything, examples, I have patients with diabetes. Diabetes is linked directly to the kidneys, the liver, and the pancreas. If we use CBD in addition to other herbs and upregulate the body, well, then you can come down on your insulin. And then if we add some emotional work or energy work or, interference field work with emotional repolarization and clearing out traumas and even physical, well, then we can clear out some of the anger and aggression and fear that has been instilled in these very systems of our body. And then the nutrients and the herbs can seep in and do their healing even more, so.
There are any addictive qualities with it?
With CBD, there's no addictive qualities. If anything, you feel like this cellular euphoric high from it. Like you feel, I had a really cool testimonial a month, maybe a year ago that, I'll just share it because it's cool. It's like an imagery. When I take the CBD, it's like it's talking to me, and it's like just trickling, like, not verbatim, but trickling inside of me, and it's saying, I'm healing you from the inside out. Like that was what, this woman said, about it. So there's no addictive properties. Now if it has THC in it, I don't, there's different studies and everybody's different. So you might be a little more addicted to THC if, again, you want to escape life or you like to be on a different realm or, so everybody's different. But if it's THC free completely, no, there's no addictive properties except that you're going to want to keep taking it because you're going to feel really good.
So somebody who would be qualified for this, who's a candidate for it?
Okay,
any contraindication? Somebody who shouldn't be on it?
I like to make sure that I see somebody even for a short consultation or a short visit, just to make sure that I know that it isn't going to interfere with them. Generally it won't, but, again, I like to be able, I do different types of energy testing and work and kinesiology testing, muscle testing, and I can really pinpoint intuitive testing how much somebody needs. But, it's not going to harm anybody to try it. It's not going to interfere with any medication. So there aren't really any reasons that somebody shouldn't take it. Now, I feel that if a body is imbalanced or isn't ready to receive it, then there could be feelings that aren't the best feelings or aren't expected. Like if somebody feels too energized, it's probably because their body isn't minerally sufficient and efficient to be able to utilize the CBD in the way that, their nervous system wants to or their body wants to. But I don't think anybody could have any harm, it could harm anybody at all. And if anything, even, using the topical is great. I don't just use it for pain. I use it on people, if you have gastrointestinal upset, you can rub it on, your belly. But the biggest thing is knowing where it comes from and where you're getting it and making sure it's a trusted source, Yeah,
unfortunately, they have the regulation for it, just like the supplement industry it's pretty poor.
So it is, yeah. Right. So, I think that's why I do what I do to talk about it and educate about it and hope that people, come to me to, learn about it and get it because, they want to make sure that they reap the benefits and there's no contraindications. So, yeah. But it isn't like, it's not medical marijuana. You don't need a card for it. You don't, if it's pure CBD and it doesn't have any THC in it, then you don't have to worry about being drug tested. You're not, it's the way that everything happened all at the same time with, medical marijuana and dispensaries and, your cards and then the CBD movement and, all of that, it is confusing. So, I spoke to veterans months back and they were like, oh, how could we ever take that? It's marijuana, and it was really powerful to share with them that, that's not really what it is. It's not that. So, it's empowering for me to be able to teach and help people, and clarify that. So
I love this. And I would think over the next 3 to 5 years and I think the shift is already taking place, but it will continue to improve and people will be more open to it.
Yeah.
I know anything natural where it's not drugs and it's not surgery, that's not going to have any type of side effects. I don't care if it's a placebo effect or not. I mean, the placebo effect is definitely there with CBD oil. It's there with chiropractic. It's there with, right. I don't care if they're getting better. I could care less if there's a placebo effect or not. There's
right.
a science behind it to back it up as well. But it's one of those things, it's just something else somebody can use that's drug-free, that's natural, that can possibly allow them to have a better day. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, and I think, like you just said, with anything, I think it's, I always preach, if I use that term, because I care and I'm compassionate, it's nothing gives me greater joy than being able to help people or a person that is open to being helped and to being healed and to being receptive and trusting and also, willing to have different people on their team, like a chiropractor, like me, so that we can heal. I mean, I know that we can heal and we can reverse, anything that anybody says, if we have the time and the commitment and the energy to do it. I think that fear and trauma is really what prevents us because, there's too many people being told that they'll never be well and they'll never have this and they'll never do this and that they have 3 months to live. And you know what, like nobody makes that decision except the person that's living in that body. And so, maybe it takes special people to do our work. And, that's the kind of work that I love to embrace people and let them know that, no, that's not the case. Nobody gives you your death sentence, So, yeah.
What are 3 things maybe you're doing in your life that make you a health nut? Things you do day to day?
Me personally, in my personal life?
Yeah. So what makes you particular? Obviously, you got into the health field because you care about overall health and well-being.
Right.
What do you do to make sure that you don't become one of these statistics that are killing our society?
Right. So with my own personal, I take pride in the way I take care of myself. The way I eat, the way food wise, we are what we eat. I don't think I ever would, advocate or eat a genetically modified food. I aim to be organic. I used to have a huge garden, and I love to share it with people too. So, I'm conscientious about what I put in my mouth. I'm not going to say I don't have a glass of wine here and there, but that's good for you too. I practice a lot of yoga and work out, quite a bit, probably to a point of too much years ago with racing and training. So I've learned my lesson. And I think one of the biggest things is I appreciate letting myself rest and listening to my body a little bit more and not pushing myself. And one other thing, I practice what I preach, really, and I think it's about balance and, yes, things in moderation. And I think, since I'm not a little kid anymore, and with each day and decade that passes, I realize how valuable life is and that I'm helping other people to impact their life. So I have to make sure that I practice what I preach and, have fun and live my life. That's probably what's really struck me, in this fourth decade of my life is, okay, make time for yourself so that you can embrace and enjoy life too. And you don't have to be perfect all the time, Yeah.
I love staying congruent and disciplined with what we do. I see so many in various professions that might be selling a product of health and wellness, and yet they smoke, they're 80 pounds overweight, they don't take care of themselves. And it's, how's anyone else ever going to listen to you if you're not congruent in your own personal life? So I love that share.
Yeah, thanks. I love that you practice that too. So
someone out there is listening. This podcast reaches thousands of people. Someone out there, they're suffering now and they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, for a lack of a better phrase. What do you tell that person who's tried everything and they failed?
I tell them that they haven't failed and that they probably haven't tried everything. And, I like to make sure that people know that they're not alone, and that there are other options, and, they haven't tried me yet, but yeah, not to give up hope and to keep an open mind. And it's not like tooting my own horn at all that, it's more about, just instilling hope in people, because I can bet that, 9 out of 10 of those people that are traumatized and suffering, it's not so much physical and nutritional. It's probably a lot of emotional, and fear and anger and resentment and, traumas that they've experienced. So, so I think they just need to be hugged and embraced. So what do I tell them? Don't give up. That would be a simple thing, but, I'm here to help if you choose to want to get help, or if you want to talk, I'm always willing to talk to somebody on the phone for a few minutes to go over what they're going through, So,
awesome. For those who are trying to find you, what's the best way to get hold of you?
Yeah. So I do sessions and have appointments, not just in person, but I do remote and long distance sessions as well via FaceTime. So just to let people know that too. My website is www.holistic with an H. So I'm going to spell it out, but it's HOLISTIC health. HEALTH with WITH Mandi MANDI.com. My phone number 412-417-0466. Email my name, so it's Mandi Babkes @gmail.com. What else? Facebook and Instagram. I'm MS Babkes on Instagram. If you just search my name, and Facebook, I have my business page there too. And I'm in Lawrenceville. I do have, an array of herbs and nutrients available here, but I'm by appointment only. So if anybody ever wants to, come by or schedule a session, they can call me or email me.
Awesome.
What else? Yeah.
And to the audience, I'll put all her contact info in the show notes, as well as all her social, so you can follow her online as well. Mandi, it's been a privilege and an honor to have you on. I loved hearing your message, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the feedback from what you had to say.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, hopefully I wasn't too all over the place, but thanks so much.
Not all. You did great. To the audience, I'll talk to you next week. Have a great week. Bye now.
So, you've heard from the experts yourself this episode and have gotten some golden nuggets on health. There is so much more to come and so much more to learn. head on over to pghcw.com. Again, that's pghcw.com, and sign up for our newsletter where you'll receive free info on how to get and stay healthy. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Health Nuts with Dr. Chris Carr. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and please leave a review.